All right, guys, welcome back to the Natty Scene podcast. We have another guest interview today with the awesome Ali Stewart. Ali is a guy that I've been looking up to as like a huge inspiration over the years. I think I first saw him in 2016 at the BNBF Southern, where he won the overall, and just blown away by the amount of muscularity that you can have as a natural athlete and really showing what is possible. I think obviously coming back this year with plenty of improvements and showing that you can continue to improve when you're already at that point is something that's absolutely awesome. And since his recent success, he took the overall at the UK DFBA show, the most recent qualifier. So that's super exciting, and obviously it's going to be one of the main contenders for the British finals in both BNBF and UK DFBA this year. So it's an absolute pleasure to have you on, Ali. I hope you're okay, and yeah, thank you very much for coming on, dude.
No problems.
Cool. So for any people that aren't aware of you or haven't heard of you before, could you just give us a little bit of background on yourself, potentially what you do outside? Obviously, I've mentioned your bodybuilding caliber and where you're at from that perspective, but give people a bit of an idea as to who you are, what you do. I know you've got a family life going on, etc. So yeah, just give a little bit of background on yourself, mate.
So I'm one of sort of three boys. I've got two older brothers, so we're always kind of super competitive. I'm the youngest one.
Cool.
Always vying for attention and stuff and food and things. So kind of being pretty active from day one.
Sure.
Was quite important.
Yeah.
Rugby, just generally being relatively physical all the way through sort of being teenage, and then you're kind of getting into weights pretty early on. I think I was quite aware of my shape at kind of 12, 13, 14, of having my barbells at home and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And just always loved it. And then I think I got to probably about 18, 19, and it just sort of started clicking in that I'm just taking this a bit more seriously. I kind of always been slim and but just managed to have abs and pecs and things like that where maybe friends and things didn't. So it's something that was always just there, and then I started taking care of it a bit more.
Yeah.
And then at 20, I started training a bit more seriously. I met a guy, still very good friends with, a guy called Peter Clark.
Mm-hmm.
He's competed for a long, long time with the ANPA, what used to be the ANB back in the day, and has been a British heavyweight champion a few times, sort of all through the 90s.
Sure.
Just stumbled across him in Twickenham, and he's just always kind of taken any kind of waif and stray that's willing to keep up with him, with the weight training and stuff like that. And this guy was awesome. I just kept looking at his forearms, thinking it looked like a roadmap of veins, and always just all year round shape. And he's still going now. He's in his 60s, I think. And I think he still judges the NPA as well as a Masters pro. And for 6 years, I trained with him 5 days a week, just solidly, just smash food. I'm absolutely mate, why didn't you do a show? I thought, yeah, wicked, yeah, I could do that. First NPA show in 2006, won that as a novice, got third in Britain, and just got the bug.
Yeah.
And that was it. So always kind of there and thereabouts with regards to training and looking kind of decent and trying to sort of have a bit of a physique. But yeah, I probably was a bit of a late bloomer, maybe compared to yourself. I think you started a fair bit earlier than me.
Yeah.
I probably really didn't hit a stride until maybe 21, 22ish, and started kind of really pushing things forwards.
Sure.
Now, I had various other jobs in the world, but in the last kind of 10, 12 years, I've been PTing and then moving forward into now owning my own gym for the last 5 years.
Wicked.
Which is awesome. Should have done this years ago. Should have got work very well. And kept up with the bodybuilding. And I think probably in the last 5 years is where I've really taken it a lot more seriously.
Yeah.
I think I kind of did it, and I mean, I was happy that I had children as well, and just sort of had a life, and it was kind of fine, and I was sort of doing all right. But by the 2013 one, for me, was a turning point. First time at the Worlds, got the second heavyweights at the Britons, and I've realised, you know what, maybe maybe I'm all right at this, and I can maybe take it a bit further. So definitely the last 5 years has ramped up for me, where I've embraced the whole industry and kind of bodybuilding naturally as a whole.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, so when was your first show, Ali? When did you actually get involved in competitive bodybuilding outside of just sort of eating and training?
So that was in 2006. I did the Southeast, whatever it was, regional for the NPA. I decided I was going to do that in about 2004. So having had some conversations with Nobby, and he said, why don't you do this? You put some good mass on. And I think probably from 21 to 24 years old, I must have put probably 20 kilos of lean mass on. And that was really my growth phase. I went from kind of 75 to about 95 kilos in a few years.
Wow.
And that was it. So I decided, okay, well, I'm going to just push it a little bit more and just really kind of hone it. So, but then for pretty much 2 years, I kind of had this, I'm competing in 2 years' time. And that's it. So I really started working from being a bit of a unit to trying to look a bit more like a bodybuilder. We started working on weaker bits and spending a bit more time on nutrition and things like that. So, so in 2006, I did my very first one. I've still got some pictures. I think my mum still has a few pictures up from that one. I still like it.
Yeah.
Because I look at it and go, I don't look bad. I'm all right.
You wouldn't have done.
Lacking conditioning, but the whole size and shape was basically there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's just showing how your level of dedication to building the tissue required for the sport was just there. And I think it's, especially for someone like me who compares myself to sort of that process, I think it's more difficult because I caught the bug so early. It's harder to stay away from the stage and to spend that time, that 4 years, 5 years of just basically just growing and getting your tissue there. But for you, obviously, it's massively paid off because, now you wouldn't have been at the level of muscularity that you're at right now without that sort of foundation level of building tissue, which I think, people like myself are potentially missing out on that phase because of the rise of teen, junior bodybuilding classes, etc., that sort of suck you in so early, which is, in some limelights, a good thing, and in some limelights, a bad thing, for sure. So when you first started sort of training and dieting for that first show, what would you look back on now and sort of say from like maybe a training perspective? What would you say your thoughts have changed over the years in terms of training, or has that remained fairly similar in terms of your approach?
No, my training has changed so much over the years. Mm-hmm. I mean, the basic principles of just like progressive overload were always there. Yeah. But it's just a level of adherence and a bit of understanding. I used to do a split that was a kind of proper bro split. It's 5 days a week, took the weekends off, and I do chest and tries, back and buys, shoulders and calves, and legs. And then whatever you did on the Monday, you repeat on the Friday. So every 4 weeks, you kind of go around that cycle. And that's what I did for a really long time. And you can't argue with the fact that it absolutely worked. And my food side of things was I basically just ate. I didn't count macros. I didn't really, I've always had a great appetite. Growing up, so with older brothers and a few step brothers as well, and a big family, and it was just pile in with big meals and things. And I've always had a massive appetite, so I think that has a huge part to play in it.
Yeah,
and quite a freeing sort of sense of you just eat and train and just kind of get on with it. But I mean, looking back now, I track all my training. So I write things down. I'm much more progressive. Did I get 1 rep more, 2 reps more this time? Can I go up a little bit?
Do you logbook in your sessions? Do you take a logbook into your sessions, or do you remember? No, you do. Okay, cool.
Yeah, everything. So I never used to until about I think when I did my first show in 2006, and then I took a year off to put some size on. I went about 10 kilos heavier. And I started to note things down, and that was just the beginnings of it all. In kind of 2008 show, I did the BNBF and I went to heavyweights, and it definitely made a difference. You just start to take note of those things, and I was kind of a bit more aware of how much I was eating. I was trying to regulate it a little bit more because I was thinking maybe we should take this more seriously. even dieting for the first shows, I didn't record a thing. I just kind of like, well, I've just eaten a little bit less, you know. Even nobody could sort of say, just bring your carbs down a little bit, do some CV. Look for your weight to come down. And, I mean, you know, you prep loads of people, so you know inherently it's not much more complex.
It's a simplistic process,
but yeah, I wasn't tracking anything, and then I just remember someone sort of saying, I should have definitely a bit more fat as you start getting leaner. So I just swapped out loads of meals for mackerel instead.
Oh, God.
Mackerel instead of chicken, and just eat that. And I was still getting leaner, so it was doing something. But no idea what I was having. So, yeah, have I looked back now, I would have loved to have paid more attention at the earlier phases, and gone at it a bit more technically.
Yes.
I wish I think I wish I had started bodybuilding when I was 20 properly. And doing what I do now then, because I think, well, how much better could I have been sooner?
Absolutely.
Maybe not at all, I don't know. I wish I'd done that a little bit,
Yeah, for sure. So, moving on to sort of now and today with your training and diet, what would you say are your general... I mean, I saw you post up yesterday one of like your sort of, your IG stories, very simplistic approach to your training session, your diet, etc. And I know that, you know, you like to make things simple and not overcomplicate things, which I think is great. So what would you say from like just a training standpoint at the moment? How do you tend to set up your training week? What do you sort of look for from a frequency perspective? And how are you going in and sort of planning out your sessions at the moment in terms of training?
Okay. So what I've sort of come to the conclusion with, from used to doing the bro splits, and probably up until, I'm going to say 2011-12, where I was very much still doing just chest day, back day, legs day, that sort of thing.
Of course.
And clearly, it was working fine. I was getting to a reason. But after 2013, when I got to a point where I think, I want to find some more. What can I do to just find some more? So I did a lot of education. I went back to university, did some study, did a diploma, and learned a lot more stuff. And started looking at the notion of frequency. And through that, I then started kind of double body part splitting for a few years. So from just going from one part, you know, once a week to now hitting it and trying to get it twice. And then it was kind of working that balance with trying not to do like a massive 25 set press session twice a week instead of doing it once a week, which is what I was doing, is trying to break that mold a little bit of going, why am I doing like 2 12 sets kind of in the week? So looking for those extra little bits, and that's why I've been running for the last few years. And then, like anything, you can train for so long, and I can say, well, maybe is there more? Maybe is there more to come? So maybe again, if I reduce my volume again and increase my frequency again, so now my weaker body parts are going to get 3 times a week. And I want to try that for a while. And I just think, well, I don't think I'm going to go backwards. And I'm still lifting heavy weights and eating a load of food, so I've got to just see, is that possible? Can I do that and not get injured? And this is just how I look at things. And maybe I'll go with it, well, I'm going to know that's rubbish. I'll go back to what I was doing before. But I definitely think a volume frequency thing is a lot more prevalent these days. I think the days of the bro splits are long since gone for peak effectiveness for people who want to get the most out of themselves. For normal people who just want to train a bit, I think you can absolutely get some amazing results still, or certainly some significant results. So that's how my training has changed more recently. And actually, it's only been the last 2 or 3 months that I've just done uppers and lowers.
Okay.
I still have to take my weekends off. I have 2 young boys who are kind of nearly 10 and 7. I have a wife. I work long hours in my gym. So I don't work weekends. I don't do anything of that other than maybe client check-ins, which doesn't really count as work, I don't think, because I just kind of smash those out. So I have to condense it into 5 days, which isn't ideal. I preferably like a Wednesday and maybe a Saturday off or something.
Sure, like
we move my training around a little bit. But I mean, I've done some quite extreme stuff. I followed Mike Mensa for a couple of years as well, and I was training 1.5 times a week. when I say 1.5 times, I would either train Monday and Friday,
Yeah.
and then Wednesday the next week.
Wow. Yeah.
I was doing an all-over body workout 1.5 times a week. Not a lot really changed.
No. Yeah.
The fact that I was, well, in one side of things, less chronically injured, so I picked up less niggles. But then when I did pick up an injury, it would probably be more profound because you do such intense sessions on those bits. If you ever followed any of Mike Mentor's stuff, he does this sort of high intensity, like loads of eccentric and just kick the muscle, really beat it right up.
Yeah.
It does leave you open to getting a bit hurt. I mean, Dorian Yates is testament to that. He loved that kind of training, but he tore biceps and triceps and pecs and all sorts of things. So, I mean, I've tried all sorts, but I really like this frequency thing. I like the simplicity of, right, I'm just going to do a handful of sets on each bit, and then my legs will get hit, and I'll do it. And it's just quite nice, even if it's nothing better than the monotony of having done the same routine for maybe 2 years.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I can totally resonate with you on that. I think, coming myself initially from a bro split with lower frequency, coming on to higher frequency, I've tried upper lowers, I've tried push-pull legs, I've tried a hybrid of both. I've never tried training 1.5 times a week though. But yeah, I know with the way, I'm imagining the way that you like to train is, like, you like the higher intensity stuff, you like taking sets with a fairly close proximity to failure, is that correct?
Yeah, definitely. Not on all of my sets. Again, something I've realised, the increased frequency, that I do need to back off some of the advanced sets.
Yeah, some fatigue management there.
Yeah, my bro split stuff. Actually, do you know what? With the bro split stuff, I didn't really do a lot of that.
Okay.
It's more recently I've been more regularly, I say recently in the last sort of 4 or 5 years, been using things like drop sets and stuff. But something I've always manipulated is tempos and rep ranges.
Okay. Yeah.
So all the time. So even in my bro split stuff, I was doing a week of heavy, and then I'd do a week of higher repping.
Yes.
And then I'd do a week of slow reps. So 5 up, 5 downs. And even that itself is enough different stimulation to kind of beat you up in a very different way. And then every now and again, like every probably 6 weeks, I chuck a week of GVT. I mean, you do GVT leg day, and you feel that for age.
Yeah.
So I'm not, as much as I purport that I'm kind of very simplistic in what I do, I think still in the outset, if you actually looked at everything that I did on paper, you kind of go, well, yeah, I mean, that's still quite advanced. It's just that the distribution of lifting things is now less complex.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving away from training and moving more so onto diet, how has your diet since sort of the days of estimating and just sort of going on a whim and adding things because someone said so, etc. How has things changed since then? What would you say now from a general perspective of both on season and off season? How is your approach to diet looking? What would you say your predominant sort of values and ethics are when it comes to diet and that setup?
Okay, so definitely in the earlier years, I was quite happy with a bulk and a cut phase, again, which is a slightly older school notion of as long as I was kind of making sure that I was eating 4 or 5 times a day, and I did very little with regards to supplementation probably in the first 5 or 6 years of training. I would just eat. Classic example would have been, I go to work, I know I've got maybe get 2 or 3 meals in, it would have been a box of pasta like this, one of those carbonara sauces in, whole packet of bacon gone in, and that's 2 or 3 meals.
Yeah, nice.
and just would have, God knows what the macros were. That was
lots.
Just it. Or, a Nando's half chicken and a double rice, and that was a kind of a meal, and it would last a while. I think post 2008, I was starting to take it a bit more seriously. I was going to do 2010, but I picked up a nasty injury, did a disc in my neck, which knocked me 4 years. So I was a bit sort of instinctual-ish. I didn't really track, but kind of kept training whilst I could. But then on my comeback in kind of 2012, I was very much now looking at the numbers and kind of like, okay, this much protein here, this much carb there.
Sure.
As I've moved forward, I have now realised the benefit of the higher carb stuff and dieting higher carb, where before I would probably be a little more like even, kind of like 40-40-20s kind of things. I've probably reduced proteins a fair bit and increased my carbs a fair bit. And when I tend to diet now, I go relatively low fat. There's arguments to and against each way of doing whatever it is. My body loves carbs.
Sure.
I train very well on them. It's not saying I don't go to low points because it's not fixed. So where I start my diet to where I'm dieting by 12 weeks to where I'm dieting, say between now and the Britain, very different setups and the way that my body can deal with things. And actually what I tend to do is I tend to be a higher protein, sort of moderate carb as I'm kind of really trying to drive the fat down.
Getting the initial bits off, I
never go much lower than about 300 grams of carbs a day, though. So whether you call that high or low, for me that's low.
For you, that's low. Yeah.
I mean, now I'm kind of going in between the qualifiers and the Britons. I think I'm on maybe 550 a day. Okay.
Some people are like crying over that, mate. But yeah, I understand.
For me, that's okay. I know in a week or two when my sort of CV and output just starts catching up with like glycogen levels dropping off a bit.
Yeah.
Even that's going to start stinging soon. So in a week or two, I know I'm going to start clucking. My eye will start twitching. High carb for me is maybe 750.
Yeah. So is that what you sort of run in your off season? That closer to those numbers?
Well, I started my off season. It depends massively on whether I'm planning on competing.
Okay.
So I really drive food as high as I can, and try to keep it really similar to sort of my cut food, but just more of it.
Yeah.
I started my cut this year at 5,100 calories.
Nice.
So I was kind of like 97-ish kilos, 5,000. I don't even know what my split was on that. Definitely quite a lot.
Yes, yeah.
It's probably about 750 carbs, I think, and then maybe 300 and something proteins, and maybe about 100 fats.
Yeah.
And that was, for me, that was just steadily gaining a little bit of weight. Not particularly fast. I'll show you, actually, if you want. I'm a bit anal, but if you look at this board, can you see? No, let's do that way. I can see it. So that's kind of like tracking weights and carbs and calories and stuff like that, just throughout my prep stuff.
Yes.
And I like to look and I go, maybe even if I change the supplement, does that make my weight change? Does that anything? And I take it. So this was, going right back to the 21st of August last year. So this is where I really started to think about. Was my weight pushing up and that sort of thing?
Like a year out, pretty much.
Yeah, I took 2017 as a seriously proper serious year of off season.
Yeah.
And if you ask my wife, she'll tell you that I wasn't really off particularly because I was really geared up and I did well in 2016, but not well enough. I really need to knuckle down, and I do think that sometimes. You just need to be that way. I think you just need to be super, super focused on the task at hand. And it's where I truly believe that I've managed to improve since 2016 because it was extremely calculated. I did make, every single step of food was on purpose. All weights and measures were tracked. I carried on a little bit of CV still the whole way through the year to keep conditioning on. And as nice as it is just to kind of eat whatever and be free with it, I think if you're going to be quite a serious bodybuilder and you want to, you're in your like upper 90% of genetic potentials, if you want to get those last few percents out, especially when I would say someone like me who's not particularly genetically gifted. I was a small kid, there's my dad's like a 6'11" stone science nerd, and my mum's like a 5'2", weighs about 7 stone, ex-teacher. Not big. There's no one big in my family anyway.
That's surprising.
So I just think, I always think everything I've got, I've earned. And when you get to a point, like I said, I put 20 kilos of mass on in 4 years, and maybe went up to most of my size. But if you want that a little bit more, I think you really have to really dig and find it. Unless you're just, freakishly massive naturally, like, I don't know, there's a handful of guys. Rich Gosdecki, I mean, the guy, an absolute beast who just seems to just get bigger looking at a protein show. That is not me. Yeah. So I definitely spent a lot more time now last year really paying attention to food.
Sure. And where did your weight get to, sort of peak off season above contest weight? Do you see the benefit in staying sort of slightly leaner at your level of competition, or did you push your body weight up quite significantly above stage weight in that phase?
So this year I went up to 97, and I think I was in a relatively lean state there. I definitely could still see my abs and stuff. There's still a little bit of quads and hamstring separation, a small amount. A light bit of vascularity in the arms, kind of pumped up. Certainly, I wouldn't have a problem walking down the beach like that. And, and generally being off season, I was, fine. I would put a t-shirt good.
Yes.
I think when I competed between 2015 and 16, I didn't go north of about 92, but I'd come off one prep into another one. I didn't do very well in 2015. I had a nasty knee injury that really held me back. So I started that a bit lighter, but I wanted to put some mass on. So I had to be a little bit, I'm going to have to put a bit of timber on the frame. I've been up to about 105 kilos before in off season. And again, because you're sort of biggish, you hold it fine.
Yes,
Don't look good with it. Again, just about an evidence of maybe the top 4 abs you could just about see. I've realised I don't need to be that heavy.
Don't need that weight,
I know for me that irrespective of how conditioned or whatever, I sort of compete somewhere around 85, 86 kilos, depending on carb status. And I think over the last few years, it's not massively changed. I just think your shape changes. You know that if you put half a kilo of muscle on, it's quite a significant difference.
Yeah.
So I think maybe I put a kilo, maybe a kilo a bit on in between the last 2 shows, which for me was a huge improvement.
Yeah,
but your overall net weight, by the time you trim a little bit of fat down, you still weigh the same. So I don't see, for me, there's not much point going anywhere north of sort of 95, 96 kilos.
About 10 kilos above stage.
97.4. Yeah, I went 97.4 by about mid-end of March, had a holiday, and then came back. So I knew that I had the best part of 2 stone to come off. I've got 12, 13 kilos. That was, I knew that I'd hit A condition by about 85, 84.
Yeah, and I think that's almost like, at your level especially, almost a good thing psychologically, because you know that you haven't got a world of weight to lose, so there's no sort of like drastic drop in performance level in the gym because you haven't got this 20 kilos to drop or something like that. You see a lot of competitors, it's not that uncommon for someone to lose 40 pounds in a contest prep, and you've got to look at that and sort of start to think whether that's really necessary or not. Huge performance drops, and like you said, your food at the moment is at such a great level. I think people should take into context how that's partly because you actually set yourself up for that kind of success. You've allowed the time to get really sensitive to nutrients, push them back up a little bit, and almost slow the rate of fat loss. So, yeah, it sounds obviously like you're chasing professionalism and you're acting in the way that you want to do that. And that's evident in your approach. So to sort of like wrap things up a little bit, I know that you've got plans to do both finals, I presume. And what would you say is the main goal out of this year? Like what is it that you want to almost redeem yourself for in 2016, and what are you really chasing at both these British finals?
It is the top spot, unfortunately. I don't like to be so, I suppose, goal orientated. You know, it's about competition. It's about bringing the best package, and I love the whole kind of understanding my body and seeing what I can make. But I've been bridesmaid too many times.
Yeah.
You know, I was over the moon to win the BNBF heavyweight. So I've got 4 second place trophies for that was sitting on my mantelpiece, and it just, you know, every single time it's, oh God's sake, what do I need to win that one? Yeah. I've got 2 second place trophies from the heavyweight. So again, it's just with it was one point that was in it last year between me and Adrian Simpson, and I'm not going to lie, I was absolutely devastated.
Yeah.
I was in floods of tears afterwards. I know it sounds a little bit wussy, but I was just, I put my heart and soul into it.
Understandable.
And I just, you know, it gets to the point where I want that top spot. And I'll do what I have to do. And a pro status would be amazing. Absolutely. And if I could get that, I would be over the moon with that, and it'd be amazing for my business as well. You know, that sort of stuff is, you win things, it's great for business, but as a personal goal, you know, I feel like I'm so close. I've got to win that top spot now. So ideally, I'd love to have both. I want to have a crack at that overall. You know, the world finals are amazing as well. I've done well in those. I've been 2nd and 4th in the worlds. Get close to it all. It's just so close within my grasp. That's what I want to be able to achieve. So definitely, they're my goals.
Absolutely.
This year.
Yeah, they make total sense, and you know, the whole thing about getting emotional about it is just shows how much you care and how much passion you pour into the sport. And you know, when you do that, you're gonna definitely come up with a lot of success, I think, because a lot of people do it potentially for the wrong reasons and don't show passion when they don't get what they want, and that's maybe a sign that they're not in the right place. But in terms of what you're going to bring to these shows, the finals, what would you say upon analysis of your qualifiers is the stuff that you kind of need to improve on going into sort of October and September for both the finals?
So what I've tried to do over the years is I mean, it's so difficult with natural bodybuilding, what's achievable, and especially when you're trying to retain mass as well. It's that balance of mass, fullness, and condition. I know that I've seen some guys and they come in and they've just got this ultimate condition. Actually, I think your world pictures, I mean, you were absolutely diced.
Thanks, man.
And for me, it's trying to get that totally peeled look, but you know, on a 190 pound frame. Whatever it is, I end up being in pounds or kilos. Yeah. And just every single year, I could think, I could have been a bit leaner. I could have, you know, those body parts weren't great. So I've worked hard on trying to pick up body parts. I've worked hard on trying to pose to hide some slightly overly dominant body parts. Obviously, I've always been a little bit leg heavy, and that can skew my shape. So I've been working hard to not make that look as dominant.
Sure.
The one thing that I have realised about myself that I can't control is that I am not the most aesthetic person up there. I know that there are some lovely sweeping bodies that just have these minuscule waists and they kind of go in and out. And I am blockier. I have square pecs and quite wide collarbones that kind of goes into a relatively thick waist. I don't notice arse is square when I look at it from behind. So I always feel like I'm a bit made of Lego. So in my posing is trying to disguise a little bit of that as well. So the things I can control my leanness, I can control my fullness, I can certainly control my tan, which has let me down a few times. I can't stand the stuff. And control my posing is to try to make myself look as aesthetic as possible. So for me, I mean, condition is probably, by and large, the biggest factor for me. If I can nail my conditioning, I think I should be pretty competitive.
Yeah, I agree with the conditioning standpoint, and I'd say from my perspective, like, you know, and I'm sure the judge's perspective as well, I think, you know, the amount of tissue that you do have built upon the physique. It just, like, some of the shots, obviously, like the master who beat you in the overall at BNBF, like, probably the only reason he got ahead of you was because of just shape, lines, symmetry, proportion. Like, you know, I think, you know, and you do have some, like, obviously your quads, you know, standout body parts that are just wacky and look ridiculous on stage, and grab anyone's eyes. But yeah, I'll definitely be excited to see what you bring to both the finals. I'll be at both, and I'm sure plenty of people listening to this will be there also, and probably there's a few heavyweights listening to this shitting themselves as well. So, so it will definitely be a good showdown. There's some awesome physiques in that lineup, and there always is. So I'm sure lots of people will be excited for that. So final sort of thing, anywhere that people can follow you, or like also mention your gym. Whereabouts is it located? So people can come down.
In a place called Shepperton. It's kind of southwest M25, that kind of region, just within it, in Surrey. It's called Fat Arms Gym. A bit of an ironic name. If you're bothered about it, I'll tell you one day. But it's just no, I've never been particularly fat. I'm on Insta and Facebook as like Fat Arms Gym Coach or something like that. I mean, relatively easy to find if you put that in.
Yeah.
It's very much a traditional gym. It's not a bodybuilding gym. Sure. I don't label it like that, but it's certainly not like a health clubby kind of like everyone's cup of tea, because it has quite a masculine energy to it.
Yeah.
And it's traditional. I've got some kit that's probably older than you, man. I've got some temperature stuff I found, like a barn find that I picked up, and they're phenomenal. Well, I think they're probably 25 years old. And then, you know, hand stuff and nice big dumbbells and things. It's a cool place to come out and train, and it's certainly, we definitely support people here who want to be bodybuilders. And to be fair, you know, I've got a handful of people that have competed through me via this gym and have done very well. Luke Austin being one of them, he trains down here.
Yeah, he's epic. Yeah.
My training partner, again, he's on his onslaught of the lightweights this year. You know, you can find him. There's a few other people that come and do bodybuilding as well. I want it to be, you know, sort of a little bit like the Body Academy, which is the BNBF's kind of gym where Vicky is. It's a place where people can come to excel at that particular thing if you want to do that sort of, where there is the support network. And it's becoming a bit like that for guys to many gyms that have a lot of assisted guys that are in there. Yeah. And the dynamic changes. So yeah, my gym's a little bit more probably Natty friendly, and people who want to do that sort of thing do start seeking this space out.
Sure, that's great. Yeah, it's all about having sort of like a positive community. I know I've been having trained in a few gyms that the community aspect of it is huge. You know, just having people that you can relate to in there, and obviously with a few naturals like you and Luke in there, I think for any natural athlete, that's an amazing environment. So awesome stuff. We will leave it there for today, and obviously any listeners that do sort of want to follow Ali, make sure you do. Plenty of exciting things left to happen for the rest of the year, and thank you very much for listening to the episode. We'll be back again next week, hopefully with another athlete. And yeah, I'll chat to you guys soon. See you in a bit. Bye.
Thanks.